Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Almost Martha. And today we're going to be making one of my very favorite things. This recipe is in my mother's handwriting. Thank you, Mom. This is barbecue meatloaf, and we both have made it for years and years and years. This is all nice and yellow with age now. But it's a great recipe. I have made this recipe, I've given it to people, I've made the meatloaf and given it to people, and all of them are like, this is the best meatloaf I've ever had in my life. So I know it's hyperbole, I'm really overselling it, but not really, because it's really good. It's really good. So hang with me and let's make my very favorite barbecue meatloaf. Thanks, Mom. Okay, y'all. So before we begin, I just want to say meatloaf is a messy business. So get ready. You can use a wooden spoon, or you can use spatula. You can use all kinds of stuff to try to mix this all together, but eventually you're just going to have to stick your hands in there and mix that meatloaf. So get ready. I made sure my hands were nice and clean, so we can get all this mixed up properly. All right. So I'm starting with 1.5 pounds of ground beef. And I'm just gonna go ahead and break that up a little bit. Yes, I'm still pretending. I'm still using my little spatula there. I'm gonna add some salt. I'm gonna add some pepper. And let's just mix that up into the meat just a little bit. Now we're going to start to add all of our good stuff to it. So the recipe calls for about a 3/4 cup of chopped onions. And make sure that when you chop this onion, you're not leaving gigantic hunks, because think about eating the meatloaf and what you want your onion, to feel like. So make sure that they're small enough that they can be eaten, easily in the meatloaf. You don't want gigantic chunks of onion. So this is my mother's trick. Whenever you chop onion, if you have a little left over, you put it into a baggie, throw it in the freezer, and then you always have chopped onion available, even if you don't have a fresh onion in the house. So it's a great little trick. So I have 3/4 cup of chopped onion that I'm adding right in here. And now I'm going to add some breadcrumbs. Now her recipe calls for seasoned breadcrumbs. I never saw the woman use seasoned breadcrumbs in my life. So we are going to use some buttery crackers. I'm using like a club cracker. And while I have sort of, crushed them with my hands, some of the pieces are still a little big. So I'm just using nice piece of wax paper, and I'm just going to get those crumbs a little smaller. And that I'm going to put right in my measuring cup. And that will be the breading for the meatloaf. I mean, I used to see her use saltines in this, so this will be fine. And about 3/4 cup of breadcrumbs right in there. We're also going to add 1 egg, so I'm just going to break this egg right here, and I'm going to whisk it up a little. In it goes. Now, the recipe calls for 1 cup of ketchup, but that's in total. So at this stage with our meatloaf, we're gonna just put half a cup right into our meatloaf. And the other half cup we are gonna reserve for our sauce. Okay, great. Because you do need some liquid in this meatloaf. So now, all right. So now we're going to be very shortly at the point where I got to get my hands in there. But before we do that, I'm just going to make the barbecue sauce. So we've got about a half cup of ketchup here, to which we're going to add 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. Put it right in that ketchup. We're going to put 2 tablespoons of mustard. Does not specify what mustard it is. So I usually use what I have on hand if it's Dijon or something like that. Now I'm using some spicy brown mustard. That goes in there. We're also going to add 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. So this is your barbecue sauce. So now I'm going to add just a little bit of this barbecue sauce right into the meatloaf. So it's going to be a little bit of a wet meatloaf. That's perfectly fine. Nice and moist. Those breadcrumbs will help absorb. Okay. And now it's time. I have my meatloaf pan. I love this little pan because you can just use this to lift that meatloaf out. Really super handy. Now I am just gonna get my hands in there. Get this meatloaf all shaped. Everything all commingled in there. Just perfect. Okay. I have sprayed my pan with some Pam, so this is not going to stick too bad. Here's my big glob of meatloaf. Big glob of meatloaf. I'm just going to put it in the pan. And I'm gonna shape it just a little bit because this barbecue sauce goes on top, but it also has to have a place to go. So I'm just gonna create sort of a little dent right down the center, so it can sort of grab a hold right there. And then I'm just gonna put this on top. And we're gonna bake it for about an hour at 350 degrees. But as it's baking, we're also gonna add a little more of the sauce. So I like to go back in right before it's ready and top it with sauce so it gets this nice crusty, saucy top. So it should be really, really good. Okay, here we go. Here we go. There it is. Doesn't that look good? So about at about the 45-minute mark, I went in and I put the other barbecue sauce on top. So that's that nice red coloring on top. But I'll tell you something funny about this recipe. So the first 10 times I made it, I didn't make the sauce on the side. I just threw all the ingredients in, all the ketchup, all of this, just mixed it all up. And it wasn't until I went back later and read the recipe that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not supposed to do that. I'm supposed to put the sauce inside. So I asked my mom about it, and she goes, oh, I do that too. So it's good either way. You can put all of that inside, maybe back off a little bit on the ketchup, if you're going to put everything on the inside. But now, a lot of times, I just half and half it. I put half that barbecue sauce inside the meatloaf instead of adding the ketchup by itself. Just put the barbecue sauce in. and then top it with more barbecue sauce. So many variations that you can do with this. I also am a little, I bought some really lean beef, so there's not a lot of grease in here. But if you're using really, beef like that's got 80% or, something like that, 20% fat, you'll get a lot of grease, and you'll have to pull it out midway and tip that grease out because you just don't want it bathed in that grease for the whole time. But this was very lean, very little grease in there. So I am going to just lift it up. I'm going to put it somewhere. I'm going to let it cool before I slice it. So otherwise it'll just fall apart. So I'm just going to give it a couple of minutes here. I'll put it on a plate and then we'll slice it up. But it's going to be good. I know it is. So hang on. Here we are, the moment of truth. I took it out, put it on a little platter. So now I'm going to do a little taste test. I have a few people here waiting for this meatloaf with bated breath, so here we go. Mm-mm. Mm. Mm. Oh yeah. This is the best meatloaf. Mm. The best meatloaf. Mm. 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 You're gonna love it. Mm. I'm going to serve this with some mashed potatoes and some roasted broccoli. And oh, it's going to be so good, so good. Oh, that is really, really delicious. Thank you, Mom. That's a great recipe. And I've enjoyed it for many, many, many years. And I bet if you put this in your repertoire, you will too. So if you want this recipe, you know what to do. Just go to almost-martha.com where you will find that along with all the other recipes that I've done. And please subscribe. Just click subscribe. You'll get these videos as they drop. But this is a great recipe. Great old-timey fashion, super delicious, nice and filling, nice, winter recipe. So I hope you make it. I hope you make it. But thanks so much for stopping by. And I look forward to seeing you next week right here on Almost Martha.